They want to eliminate what they call the deep state. The deep state is a cadre of professionals dedicated to honoring the Constitution, the laws of this country, and carrying out the policies of the Congress and the President. The deep state dedicated to carrying out the policies of the President. The deep state dedicated to carrying out the policies of the President.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Prepared Mind channel, The Deep State. When we first heard about it, it was like one of those catchy little things. Oh, we've identified a group, it's the Deep State. They became the boogeyman. They became the the cliche about anyone we didn't like in government. The Deep State, the Deep State. It was a mythological monster, the Deep State. And then this jackass, Steny Hoyer of Congress, comes out and starts saying, oh, it's a cadre of people dedicated to protecting the country. Right now, do you doubt there's a deep state? How much has been exposed since Trump has been elected president? Folks, I have been shocked at how much corruption and filth really is there. And this is just what the Department of Government Efficiency has exposed. I mean, we all thought, we all saw, we're like, it's got to be bigger than what we see. It's got to be more. It's got to be deeper. It's got to be, this, right? And what have we learned? Oh, it's out of fucking control. Crazy. The deep state is beyond political party. It's beyond race. It's beyond national boundaries. It is about control and domination of the entire fucking system. The deep state is massive. We have a judicial deep state branch that's run by Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Judge Boasberg and all these other judicial asshats. We learned about them. They should be arrested. At the very least, thrown off the fucking bench. The deep state. We found out and heard about it in Congress. They're so blatant and in our faces, we've now learned that the January 6th committee, they are deep state and so involved in not obeying the Constitution, but violating it, that Biden had to pardon a committee. Since when does a committee need to be pardoned unless they've committed fucking crimes? Right? What other committees have come up? Oh, Asshat Raskin and Butt Snarf Schiff formed a Senate House committee to oppose President Trump's agenda. They came out publicly. They held public fucking meetings. The deep state is now in the open. The FBI, Kash Patel was like, I'm going to turn the FBI into a museum. And then he runs to the president and says, I need new security, Secret Service detection. I'm afraid for my own life. What the fuck did you think, pal? Did you think you're just going to walk in there and everyone's going to bow down and kiss your ass? Fuck no. The deep state is the media. It's law enforcement. It's the judicial branch. It's the legislative branch. And even inside the executive branches, the deep state is real. Tulsi Gabbard, of all people, is firing them. She just fired 2 more high-level deep state, anti-constitutional, anti-Trump operatives. They're a cadre of fucking thieves, liars, and criminals. The deep state is bureaucratic license, like you said, FEMA. Just taking money and giving it away to where they want to launder it so it can come back to their families' businesses, back into their campaign funds. The deep state is real. It's supported, like I said, by mainstream media. It supports education. For example, Trump has now cut, as of today, another $450 million in federal funds that were supposed to go to Harvard. How much do they have to cut from Harvard and Yale and other fucking Ivy League schools. How much more do they, how much have they been getting? But why? Why does Harvard need any government money at all? They have tuition, student books, fees, campus food, everything. They get alumni support. They did get donations from billionaire philanthropists, and they need billions of dollars. This is just Harvard alone, $450 million. Well, the reason Trump cut it is because of, well, the school, the deep state Harvard Ivy League fucking shithole of a school is continuing to allow anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish, anti-Israel protesters to pull their shit. So I guess Jewish billionaires don't really like Harvard and Ivy League schools educating Muslim terrorists, encouraging Muslim terrorists who are now active in the United States of America. But that's how big and wide and far the deep state is. I thought Trump already cut these fucking people. Yet there's another 450 million to cut. How many colleges are out there, folks? Not just Ivy League, not just Yale, Princeton, Harvard, Columbia, all these. No, how many more are there that are getting federal funding? The amount of money I keep hearing about that's going to schools, colleges, is disgusting and astounding, to where they're continuing to try and teach kids to cut their dicks off. And then they're threatened with losing their funding. Like, yeah, okay, we'll stop. The deep state is education, K to 12, university, Ivy League. It doesn't, all of it. The military is deep state. The CIA, definitely. The FBI, the Attorney General's office, fucking James Comey, the FBI director who allowed Hillary to violate the law, federal felonies, and walk. She fucking skated away, no problem, because the deep state let her. So James Comey's daughter is the one prosecuting. She's part of the prosecutorial team for P. Diddy and the Jeffrey Epstein cases. Talk about a deep state insider connected, put in charge of these cases to what? To fucking hide the facts. That's why shit hitting the fan is such a big deal. It's either going to get cleaned out or they're going to clean us out. One or the other. Right? You can only serve one master. The deep state wants to serve itself. So it is not a cadre created and executing, shall we say, rules and procedures and policies and agendas for us and our benefit. No, it's for them. Right? It's for them. The prison system is deep state. They keep letting out fucking criminals that end up murdering. Right, here's some horrible shit. It's the fan action. Well, I don't know who this person is. Doesn't affect me. Doesn't affect you. Right, but it affects this guy's family, his neighborhood, his friends, his compadres. A 79-year-old Army veteran. 79-year-old Army veteran was dragged out of his car. And he was killed. This is in California. It was a carjacking, a brutal carjacking. And this Democrat criminal who was let out of the Democrat prison system by a bunch of Democrat deep state bureaucrats on the parole board, they let him out, release him into public, and he drags to death a 79-year-old man. Expect more of this, folks, because it's them, the lifelong criminals in our nation. They're always attacking. They're always killing, and they're always getting out of jail, always being empowered to continue to be criminals. They're deep state tools. I mean, get this. Get this. Democrats are doing what today? They're absolutely taking the side of rapists, murderers, drug dealers, kidnappers, extortionists. They take their side and they're funding them, right? They're funding these people. They're getting money to these NGOs to send rapists, murderers, drug dealers into America because it serves the deep state purpose. But here's the thing. It's actually now backfiring on the Democrats. It's actually pissing off Democrat voters because they're seeing their neighborhoods ruined. They're seeing their schools ruined. They're seeing their children being threatened. Right? So Democrat Senator Chris Murphy, in order to get ahead of what's happening, is trying to blame Trump. He's already trying to blame Trump for the 2026 midterms. He wants to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the elections because he knows Democrat voters are unhappy with Democrats and they're not going to come out and vote. As much as people who are so fucking pissed off at maggot Mike Johnson and Senate Leader Toon that they're like, you know what, fuck you. I'm not going to vote in the midterm. If you're not going to act like the party in power and protect us, then we may as well let the Democrats have the power back. But the Democrats are like, you know what, fuck you fucking Democrats. You're fucking me over. I thought this was supposed to help me and hurt the rich people. Right? So yeah. They're trying to blame Trump already because of the rapists, drug dealers, and murderers they let in. And this jackass, Senator Murphy, has also said Trump is, quote, destroying democracy. Now, the word democracy is not what they intended to be used as. The word that they use, democracy, actually means bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. Trump is destroying bureaucracy. What's bureaucracy? Unelected, empowered government officials who have power over distributing money to schools, to military industrial contractors, to other nations, to non-government organizations, to charities. They give money away to pharmaceutical companies for research. Oh, all of that R&D, folks, that's our tax money being given to corporations that have a market cap in the billions and billions and billions. So this strategy of Chris Murphy to accuse Trump of destroying bureaucracy and trying to cast doubt on the election coming up, it kind of hints at violence. Because in 2026, if the Democrats don't take the House and don't take the Senate, they're going to claim Trump stole the election. Remember, it's always Trump's fault. Always. So will I be voting in the midterm? The answer is yes. Am I fucking happy with Congress? Fuck no. I give them a 0%. The Senate, 0%. You guys fucking suck. Fuck you, maggot Mike Johnson. You're the worst speaker I've ever heard of. You make Paul Ryan look like a fucking patriot. Senator Toon, you make Mitch McConnell look like a fucking patriot. You want to know why I go that far? Because we're watching them and they're doing it anyways. They're doing it anyways. Unbelievable. But the Democrats, they're not happy either, folks. They've lost the elections. They're seeing their world destroyed. The promise that they'd get Trump and fuck us over isn't working. We're all getting fucked over. Now, Speaker of the House, Speaker Johnson, what a great title. He's not a leader. He's a sack of shit and a tool. Maggot Mike Johnson is now saying it's possible that we could expel the New Jersey Democrats who stormed the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement facility and they assaulted agents. We might do something. Maggot Mike Johnson is making a hollow threat, folks. He's doing it for public consumption. He is a deep state sack of shit operative designed and intended to make you and me think that the Republicans have control and good things are going to happen. You get back in your house, Mr. and Mrs. America. Maggot Mike Johnson's got this. So he makes this hollow threat. And there's only one way to make the threat real. And there's no guarantee. We, me, you, us, Americans, patriots, veterans, everyone, we need to demand that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, take real action. All he has to do is put it up for a vote. That's it. go on the floor and say, I'm the Speaker of the House. Those people over there are criminals. They trespassed into a prison facility, assaulted federal law enforcement, impeded them from doing their job, put lives at risk in the prison as well as on the street. They need to be expelled for cause with prejudice because they did what they did intentionally, and they cannot serve the American people if those are the kind of actions they take, right? Mike Johnson, though, he's a loser and he's a liar, and so he won't do anything. This right now is just a little deep state lip service from him. But you and I can pressure him and force him to act instead of allowing him to lie to us to make us feel good. And we go to bed going, oh, yeah, that maggot Mike Johnson, he's doing a great job. I'm going to sleep good tonight knowing I'm safer. You're not safer. None of us are safer. None of us. Tell you what, folks, it is Wednesday. It's hump day. There's a lot going on in the world, and I want to hear what you have to say. So into the questions down below. Please tell me what you're thinking. Yesterday, we had one hell of a discussion about things South Africa. White farmers, settlers, infiltrators, violent murderers, government destruction. What's the difference between asylum and immigration? What's the difference between productivity and, well, non-productive immigrants, right? What's going on? It was a great call, great talk, great discussion. You know, why doesn't Europe want them? Why does America want them? What can they do? Where are they going to live? How's this going to help? Quite a good discussion. I enjoyed all of it. And I enjoyed sharing my opinions as well as reading yours. So let us continue, shall we? Let's move on to another bit of deep state action. The Jim Jones juice. That's the Centers for Disease Control, CDC. That's the National Institutes of Health, the NIH. That's the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. They are deep state controlled, bought and paid for. Does the name Bill Gates ring a bell? Anthony Fauci, ring a bell? A lifelong bureaucrat. And they're continuing to be exposed. But let's just look at some of the damage it's caused. The country of Portugal, over there next to Spain. One of Portugal's political leaders, his name is Andre Ventura. He was giving a campaign speech. Guess what he did? He fucking collapsed. Collapsed. Guy looks to be in his early mid-40s maybe. Collapsed. And lately, folks, a lot of public figures in the media, in politics, in sports, have been collapsing during speeches. News people, right? How many are having health issues that the public isn't aware of? How many of these politicians are like, oh, and they want to collapse all day long, but they don't say anything. They don't want anyone to know. Oh, I'm fine. It's cool. It's cool. How about athletes, politicians, media? How about teachers? How about your coworkers? How many are having health issues and they don't want anyone to know about it because, well, they're scared, they're ashamed, they feel stupid. That's called regret for taking the Jim Jones juice. I don't know anyone who has not taken it that has regret. And one of these dumb fucking leftists wrote, well, if they die, they don't have a chance to regret, man. There's probably lots of them that died because they didn't take the Jim Jones juice. Actually, no. Nobody dies of it. You die when you go to the hospital and they put you on a ventilation machine and kill you. In fact, just the other day, a kind, gentle black nurse, she said, I kill white people all the time. So she's turning her racist mentality into the fuel of her decision making and using her skills as a nurse to kill people that are white. That's a twofer right there, is it not? So this politician keels over. We've seen it lately. And also a naval surgeon, right? In the Navy. No. A naval surgeon has released a report documenting and detailing how military personnel are having massive increases in heart-related diseases, heart attacks, heart disease, pericarditis, etc., etc., etc. And remember, in the military, men are young, men are healthy, in great physical condition, and they're also sicker than ever. Right? These heart-related diseases are up 80%, 200%, 500%, 850% higher rates through a complete line of different diseases, just skyrocketing. Pretty crazy, folks. Pretty wild stuff. This medical deep state is off the hook. It's off the hook. They don't like the fact that RFK Jr. is in there doing his job. Well, today, RFK Jr. needed to absolutely crush and stomp the lying, purple-haired Democrat old bat. And how did he do that? With his fists? No. With his feet? No. That's how Democrats do things. He did it with facts and truths. But what did she do? What did this purple hair, and you guys have seen this old bat, purple hair as if she's a high school kid. She tried blaming RFK Jr. for the measles outbreak in America. Well, she tried blaming him for it, and he shut her down. Good for RFK Jr. He shut her down and said, hey, no. We've got like another 16 cases this year. It has plateaued. The outbreak of measles in America has plateaued. He said, conversely, Mexico is higher than it was last year significantly, and same with Canada. They're much higher, bigger outbreaks up there and down there. But what I want to do is I want to call attention to the massive numbers of diseased, sick people flooding into Mexico. Oh, yeah, they flood into Mexico too, folks. Canada and America. They're flooding into the nation. They're unvaccinated. They're unwashed. They're unclean. They're unsanitary. They're disease-ridden filth bags who should be locked up in quarantine. But no, the Biden administration for 4 fucking years said to all these people, get on that bus over there. Oh, wait, here's a credit card. Here's a stack of cash. Here's a smartphone. Don't worry, it will never stop working. And a charger. Get on that bus. Get on that plane. We're going to send you to another city where you're going to be provided with a new house, a new apartment, an extravagantly beautiful luxury hotel room. And we'll feed you. 20 million illegals, and they want to blame RFK Jr. for the outbreak of diseases. It's unconscionable. It's actually fucking retarded. On the part of the Democrats, this is a retarded argument to make. But don't be fooled, because retardation won't stop them. For example, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. For example, Rashid Tlaib. For example, Hakeem Jeffries. For example, Ilhan Omar. For example, Crockett Eyelashes bitch. Right? For example, Nancy Pelosi. For example, how can we can do this all fucking day long. Purple-haired, wretched bat chick. Right? They're retarded. In fact, the news today, guess what the most, how do I put this? The most pronounced example of Democrat mentality, intelligence, and give a shit factor was demonstrated. Multiple congressmen and women, Democrats, falling asleep in their chairs in committee while the mainstream media is filming them, while the alternative media is taking pictures and filming them. They're sitting in all the big chairs up high because they're so powerful. Fucking, their hands wake up, it's your turn to talk. They're treating it like a fucking joke. They've been on vacation more than any other Congress in my lifetime has been on vacation in the first 3 fucking months of a president's new term. And and then when they do come to work, they fall asleep in the fucking chairs. That's our Congress. That's our Congress. Last year and the year before, they were getting caught playing on their iPads, playing on their phones, texting, playing fucking games like Candy Crush, right? Solitaire. They are worthless fucking people. They are. Now, what they need in America, the deep state, is they need a crisis so big that we, the people, have to turn to the government and go, please help us. So what are they doing? How are they preparing? Right? What are they doing to prepare to screw us over? Well, in Minnesota, the governor there, who is Tampon Timmy, I like horse semen, ex-vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, the governor and the National Guard in Minnesota are preparing for riots. Riots? Well, didn't riots first start in 2020 in Minneapolis? Yes. Minneapolis, the hometown of Miles Franklin Mint, or Miles Franklin Gold and Silver. They left. Andy Scheckman lives down in Miami now. He left Minnesota because they fucking destroyed it in 2020. But they're preparing for riots. What else was in Minnesota and Wisconsin up there, right? All of these race riots, the Antifa riots, the BLM riots, they're preparing for riots. But what could cause them to riot? Why would anyone riot? Well, there is now discussion over a pardon being given to Derek Chauvin. Who's Derek, you ask? He is the police officer who was arresting St. George Floyd when St. George Floyd started to die, right? This is a shit show in Minnesota that is ready to roll. Now, let me ask you this. If Charles Manson was released from prison, would anyone care? Would the nation riot? He's killed a lot more people than Derek Chauvin. Well, what about Jeffrey Dahmer, right? He killed dozens of homosexual young men. Ate them. He's a fucking cannibalistic homosexual freak. If he were to be released, and I think he's dead, but if he were released, would the nation riot? No, of course not. But releasing the man who arrested St. George Floyd while St. George Floyd was dying of a fentanyl overdose, that would be an excuse to start more BLM, Antifa, race riots and race wars. So yeah, the government of Minnesota is now preparing because they think that Derek Chauvin's going to get pardoned. The coroner's report said he was loaded with fentanyl, loaded with it. He's a former criminal, not Derek Chauvin, but St. George Floyd, a felon who did home invasion, car theft, drugs. He was in the the process of doing what? Passing counterfeit currency at a store when he was arrested or when they attempted to arrest him. And from the very beginning, he was doing what? Resisting arrest, screaming he couldn't breathe, making it difficult to arrest him, which is resisting arrest. They threw him in the police car. He squirmed and got out of the police car, tried hiding under the police car. That's when Derek Chauvin finally pinned him down with the other cops, held him in place, right? I think that considering the size of George Floyd, they were very gentle with the man. In any event, they want riots. The deep state needs to have cover. They want to take handfuls of dirt and throw it in the air so no one can see. So our vision is obscured. Right? They don't want clarity. They don't want transparency. They want opacity. between you and me, the people, and what they're doing in Washington. And Trump, my friends, has exposed them through the Department of Government Efficiency. And within the bureaucracy, several of his leaders are actually doing something. I've mentioned Tulsi Gabbard. I've mentioned RFK Jr. How about Pete Hegseth in the military? He's getting rid of all of the lipstick wearing, fishnet stocking wearing, transgender fuckheads. You're out. Anyone who is disobeying orders, violating the chain of command, or refusing to acknowledge the chain of command and put pictures on the wall of the Secretary of Defense, the Vice President, and the President. They're getting fired. They're getting removed. They're changing policies. No more trannies. I think they ought to go so far as saying no more homosexuals. No more homosexuals. You're out. Right? We need to make the military masculine again. We need Lee Ermey's. We do. We need, and he was a Marine and a Marine drill instructor, not just an actor who appeared in a movie and TV. Right? Lee Ermey was in Apocalypse Now. Lee Ermey was in Full Metal Jacket. Right? And he was rough. He was mean. He was crude. And that's how it needs to be. Not this plastic banana, good time, rock and roll, chicken shit, faggot stuff. I got a stress card. I'm kind of stressed. It's too much and too difficult. It's the fucking military. Do you think Jihad Joe is going to give a fuck about you? Right? What are the other names we can have on here? Chinese Chuck. You think he's going to give a shit? No. Ira from Iran. Nope. Jim from Jordan. Nope. They're not going to give a fuck about you. They're just going to kill you. In any event, it is one hell of a world, folks. Are you prepared? What's in the comments? Your questions, your thoughts. And it doesn't have to be just about the deep state, but it can be about the deep state. In fact, any topic you bring up, I will tie to the deep state and its behind the scenes, underhanded efforts to destroy and subvert the Constitution for these United States of America. That's what they're doing. That's their goal. And that's what they want. When they say, you're threatening democracy. No, we're threatening your bureaucracy, which is the funding. The bureaucracy is the funding. Crazy world, folks. Let's do it. Let's have some fun. Let's get into, well, the inner circle, which is you guys here live. And we're back. I need a drink. Whew. Oh, there would be some alcohol in that one. Very good. Ooh, man, who's up first on the Prepared Mind channel? And it is Kate Coleman Hobbs. She says, why pardon? He's innocent. She's speaking of Derek Chauvin. Release him. Well, the facts of the case, if you and I were to listen, we would agree. We just read the coroner's report. How can Derek Chauvin be responsible for him having severe reactions to an illicit and illegal drug that he's got enough of it in him to kill 10 men? So you and I, Kate, know he's innocent. But he has been found guilty by a jury, allegedly of his peers. And because he has been found guilty, irrespective of fact, truth, evidence, proof, witness testimony, it doesn't matter. He has now been found guilty. So innocent or not, he's been found guilty. And the only way to get him out of prison is to either have a new trial, right? He would have to have a court hearing, a court case, a lawsuit that would demonstrate to a significant degree to a judge that he did not get a fair trial. Then he could get a new trial. Now, at that new trial, the new prosecutor could say, In light of the evidence before us, we seek no prosecution. In other words, the prosecutor, the state, the voice of the people, the prosecutor could say, we have enough evidence to know that Derek Chauvin isn't responsible. Therefore, we won't retry him. Or the prosecutor could say, oh, okay, yeah, we messed up here, here, and here. We're going to try this again and hold an entirely new trial, which would also piss off the Black Democrat community. It would piss off the conservative community, which includes all races. Or if he is pardoned, who has pardoning authority in the state of Minnesota? I believe the governor, as well as the President of the United States. Mr. Uman, Michael Brown did a super chat donation on a Wednesday. How about that? Thank you, Mr. Michael Brown. So that's the deal, right? President Trump could pardon him, and I think Tim Walz could pardon him because it wasn't a federal crime. But we're going to find out where this goes. It is incredible, folks, watching. They are so desperate to have me and you fighting everyone else out on the street, because if we're busy fighting each other, we're not going to see them. No, I got a Cash App notification, Uman, so you wouldn't see it. But I believe Michael Brown is out there somewhere. If he's got a question, comment, thought, he's up. Anyways, I agree with you, Kate Coleman Hobbs. He should be pardoned because the evidence, I think, is overwhelming that George Floyd was not St. George Floyd, that he was engaged in committing a serious federal crime. He was doing it under the influence of enough drugs to kill him and an entire platoon. But what would happen? There would be riots because they would say, right, Derek Chauvin is a criminal. He spent the last, 4 years of his life in prison. That's rough. Once again, I don't want to be a cop, folks. Not my thing. It would be very tough to be a cop because I don't tend to de-escalate. I tend to escalate. Right? I don't like scumbags. I like good people. I don't want to hang around scumbags. I don't want to work in a prison. In any event, thank you, Kate. Who's up next? Mr. Uman. We've got drum roll. Uman. He says, this is from Chin Music. He says, a 33-year-old Texas mother allegedly bought her son ammunition and tactical gear to help him plan an attack on a local middle school. That is a shocker. A Texas mother bought son ammunition, tactical. He needs a gun too. You need more than just ammo. But here's the deal. Guess her political affiliation. Guess her mentality. She's a Democrat. Probably, more than likely, right, a transgender, homosexual, or transgender and homosexual supporter. Probably, likely, that she also supports the Palestinian movement and the Jihad Joe movement in America. Probably. Unbelievable. Thankfully, it sounds like the mother and the son. Was the son changing his name from John to Joan? Or was it Joan becoming John? Right? That's who is turning out to be violent in these school attacks. Homosexuals, transgender Democrats. Purple hair, tattoos, and piercings. Is that what the person really had, Uman? Or are you just throwing that out there like a wild guess? In fact, we used to do that. Take a wild guess. You know, maybe I ought to reintroduce the take a wild guess stuff. Yeah, wild guess. That's right. Take a wild guess. What's the political affiliation of this Thankfully, though, in all truth, no one was murdered. That either the police or a neighbor, hell, maybe the FBI stopped them. No. We'd have heard about that because Pam Bondi and Kash Patel would have been all over the news. We just stopped a mass murdering attempt. We're doing a great job that you hired us for. No, actually, we didn't hire you for that. The president hired you. We hired the president. The president said we want to lock up the Epstein clients. We want the Epstein clients out here. We want the, right? You guys know the litany. You know the litany. Thank you, Chin Music. Mr. Uman, where shall we go next? Lots to talk about. Oh, by the way, the deep state, let me make that connection. The deep state needs chaos to hide them in what they're doing. They need race riots. They want us at each other's throats, regardless of gender, race, age, nationality. But that's what they want. James Floyd says, hey, I can see buying your son ammo and tactical gear, but to shoot up a school, that's demented thinking. Yeah, it's demented. It's fucking criminal as fuck. You bet it is, James. Right now in high school, I had tactical gear. I bought it for myself, though. I didn't need my mother or my father. I didn't need any friends or uncles. I used to get this thing from, a friend called Shotgun News. Shotgun News had used guns, new guns. I used to take my Shotgun News to school. It looked like the Wall Street Journal, right? It's a newspaper and looking at guns and shit in class. No one said a fucking word. My friends were like, hey, what do we got in this week or this month's Shotgun News, John? Right? We'd talk about all the cheap guns that we could afford at that age and guns we wished we could afford. Good stuff. Anyways, yeah. No one ever shot up my school. People brought guns to school, folks. They had gun racks on their fucking trucks. You could have called us hillbillies or fucking mountain billies or fucking hicks or rednecks. It didn't matter. Just because we lived outside of a city. But we weren't shooting anything up. Nope. But that was then, and this is now. 40 fucking years later. 40 years ago, 1985, I started high school. How unbelievably fucking strange is that to be that old? 40 fucking years. I guess I'm old now. Yeah, they're demented and they're criminal. Democrats are criminal. Democrats are evil. Democrats are satanic. Democrats love murder, violence, rape, robbery, extortion, kidnapping, bribery, money laundering, war. They love it all because it gives the government and the deep state, all of their agents, it gives them the excuse to do what they're doing. Well, we really needed to do that. You just don't understand because you're a civilian. That other country, they needed that, right? It's just ridiculous. It's a bunch of shit. I'm sure this mother and her son will probably have an ACLU or a Southern Poverty Law Center attorney, a Democrat attorney defending them. And the jury, you're not allowed to convict them because they're a transgender homosexual fruitcake. Right? No, we don't need that to convict them of a crime of planning mass execution. It's unbelievable. Okay, well, man, where are we going next? We got 15 minutes left, and I know there's stuff to talk about. And it is Badass Diving Frog. And he says, John, hey, John, the sun is spitting out X flares. Flooding is happening all over. And according to the left, it's Trump's fault. Everything is Trump's fault. Everything is Trump's fault. The closest thing I can think that could come to human blame for climate change would be the government. Literally, the government's doing climate change weather experiments with their chemtrails, spraying hundreds of tons of microfine nanoparticle metallic substance into the air that hangs up in the air for hours, if not days, before it falls to the earth and contaminates the soil, water, vegetation, and humans. But the sun spitting out X flares, I got news for you, diving frog. That happens all the time. The sun's been doing flares for, as long as humans have looked. But yeah, they'll try and find a way to blame Trump. Everything is Trump's fault, isn't that? It doesn't lose its funniness. That everything is Trump related, right? Every one of these politicians in Washington D.C. and the prior politicians were screaming to deport illegals until it was time that the deep state needed to have illegals come in for the purposes of ballooning census figures to give the Democrats more control. The deep state using criminals. But so now, I'm talking Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, the Clintons, the Obamas, kicking people out of the country. Now it's a crime. Interestingly, 59 South Afrikaners show up, and that's opening the border. That's flooding the country with illegals. Are you fucking what? How is that flooding the country? It's 59 of them flooding the country. They're letting in 250,000 200 to 250,000 illegals a month under Biden. And Trump brings in 59 total people, not just military-aged men in their 20s who are gang members and, terrorists. These were actually complete families, men, their wives, and their children. How about that? Shocking and stunning. And there's so much more to what the Democrats normally are opposed to, but now they want. Everything Trump is doing, they were saying they're going to do. We're going to cut the bureaucratic spending. We're going to cut taxes on Social Security. Well, it was Joe Biden who proposed and co-sponsored taxing people's Social Security. Democrats are scum, folks. They're absolute scum. They want murderers in this country. They want gang members, drug dealers, thugs in this country. I'm absolutely sick and tired of watching illegals in America and in Europe violently assaulting old people, pushing people onto train tracks, walking up and punching people, stealing from them, and then having, parties in the street and blocking traffic, impeding, a productive America. And you know what's incredible is people are pulling out video, movie footage and still pictures of Europe and the United States of America from 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and saying, do you see the difference? The answer is stark. Whether you're talking about a city in Europe or the countryside in America, or the countryside in Europe, or even name it. Name New York City, Chicago. They looked clean. People were dressed decent. Now you look at video of California just driving down the highway, driving down any street, fucking tents everywhere, garbage everywhere, filthy people, drug addicts. You look at Harlem 70 years ago, the pictures of Harlem, which now is a byword for a trashed, fucked up place. It was clean. Clean businesses, clean people, well-dressed, nice automobiles. Look at how the Democrats have ruined our world. And people are still voting for that shit. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, well, man, let's roll, shall we? We've got, who's up next? Michael Brown. And Michael Brown did a $55.56 super chat on a Wednesday. And I don't have a bottle of scotch within reach, Michael. Anyways, he says, we're outnumbered by idiots. That's a fucking understatement, but damn, I appreciate that. We're outnumbered. We're outnumbered. I think we all sense that. You know, you go to the store and you ask for help, and the people that work in the store don't know what they're doing. They can't find a product. They can't help you out. It's like you're supposed to work. You're supposed to know something. Crazy. Just fucking. He says, tune your frequency so you can see everything. Now that idea, man, I would love to know your exact philosophical thought on this, but I'll do my second best and see if I can interpret that in such a way that it makes sense and others can use it if they don't already have their own idea. Tune your frequency so you can see everything. We talk about Democrats. They have blinders on. All they can see, all they can hear is what their leadership is telling them. They're tuned in to a very narrow frequency, a very narrow band of ideas and thoughts. So what Michael is suggesting here, in fact, giving advice, is tune your thinking so you can see everything and hear everything, not just your own leaders, not just the Republicans, not just the Democrats, not just the mainstream media, but tune into all of it. I think it's a brilliant statement. And I think that's something that Uman talks about a lot, and I try to talk about, is don't believe me. I'm not a prophet. I'm just a guy. Right? We're all just people. But check the information. Tune your frequency. Learn from here. Check it there. Check it there. Right? And does what people are saying in the Republican Party, in the Democrat Party, in the mainstream media, what are they? If what they say, check that against the reality you see with your own eyes. We listened to Alejandro Mayorkas, the disgraced, retarded, Michael might say an idiot, I'll call him retarded, former head of the Department of Homeland Security, kept telling us the border is secure. What frequency did he think we were on? The frequency where you just look just at the TV and just listen to that? All you got to do is put that shit down and go, holy crap. I found videos on Twitter X. I found newspaper clippings. I found internet pages stacked with information about hundreds, thousands, and millions of people coming across. That's one example. So if you broaden your horizon or broaden your perspective, tune your frequency, take in all the information, compare it against other information, throw away the garbage, right? Garbage in, garbage out, and keep the information that is valuable, proven, instructive, and something you can share with others. That's a big deal. That's really what this channel is about, is sharing information, sharing ideas, thoughts, sharing perspective. And I really like that, Michael. Tune your frequency so you can see everything. Cool deal. Thank you, sir, very much. And great, great super chat donation. Middle of the week. Caught me off guard. I'm getting other little messages here. Anyways, Mr. Uman, let us continue if we shall. And Deplorable Yankee Redneck checks in, says, anybody think Trump shouldn't be honoring kings? The United States of America was started because we were done with kings. In fact, the Constitution says that titles of nobility and letters of marque and reprisal will not be granted by the government. It doesn't mean that when you're dealing with a foreign government that you don't recognize who they are, right? So the United States of America has to do business with China, and China is run by the Chinese Communist Party. Dictator for life, supreme leader Xi Jinping, right? Does Trump need to meet with him? Does Trump need to respect his authority? Does Trump need to honor him? So you're using the word honoring, right? Well, Xi Jinping is not king, but he's in charge for life. And he's vested with an immense amount of authority. Right? So I think you might be talking about Prince Mohammed bin Salman. I don't think he's king. I think King Hussein, his father, is the king, but Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia is in charge of the country. And I don't know, is Trump honoring him? Now, Trump can't pronounce him king. He can't knight him king, right? He can't recognize or create a king, but he's dealing with another country that is a valuable ally in the world. And if he is treated with a great deal of respect, shouldn't Trump reciprocate? Right? We're done with kings as far as us. There is no king of America. There's no prince of America. In fact, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle can fuck off. Right? We don't take kindly to kings, royalty, prelates, nobility, aristocracy, telling us what to do in America. What does Europe have? They have the European Union, where these would-be aristocrats, these self-promoting asshats, act and sound like kings, and they make demands of all the people, right? So Trump may be talking to a prince or a king or a dictator in another country, but you and I, we're free. We don't have to listen to anything that person says and obey it. In fact, we don't have to listen to fucking Trump, right? If Trump wants to do something, well, he has a very limited range of authority over federal government, federal bureaucracy, federal forts, enclaves, right? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 type stuff. Other than that, Trump has no fucking say in it. But the country right now is so immersed in deep state employment that when Trump decrees something, right, as the leader of the federal executive branch, it affects a lot of people. And they run right to their deep state buddies in the media and start whining like a bunch of bitches. And they go to their deep state buddies in the politics and start whining like a bunch of bitches because they lost their job, lost their funding, lost their authority, lost their power to screw with business and individuals like you, right? Trump can honor that king all he wants. I couldn't give a fuck. If Trump gets us a better deal, he gets us peace, he helps American prosperity, which he's done in this case. I think Prince Mohammed bin Salman, that guy, I think he's going to put up $500 or $600 million for what? For America. To do what? Jobs, factories, businesses. Good. That's cool. He's investing in America. You know that the fucking Democrats are so pissed off at Trump because Qatar, the government of Qatar, gave a 747-8 Boeing super jetliner to the United States government because Boeing, probably the single largest military industrial contractor, hasn't managed to deliver the fucking 747s they're supposed to deliver, that they've been paid for. What a fucking embarrassing company to work for, Boeing. Diversity, equity, inclusion, environmental, social governance, diversity, equity, inclusion, environmental, social governance, ruining shit. Unbelievable. So Qatar gives us, and then the Democrats are pissed about it. We shouldn't be taking things from others. What are we going to have to give them now? Well, no, they donated it because the jet that they gave us, the country, for use by the president as Air Force One, is actually newer. I had no idea that Air Force One was 40 fucking years old. That's old for a jet. I don't know if you guys have ever seen an airframe, the way an airplane's put together and what holds it together. They're made out of very thin aluminum. Pretty scary stuff. In any event, thank you, Qatar. right? And oh, by the way, if we aren't going to accept gifts from other countries, I guess we got to send the Statue of Liberty back to France. You guys have been great. Thank you for everything. And chance favors the prepared mind. Go to thepreparedmind.club and get what you need to get prepared. I don't know if we've said it enough. Shit is at the fan, and it's going to get nastier. Next up, race riots. Next up, terror action. Next up, deep state backstabbing out of Washington, D.C. to make your life hell. Stand by. It's coming.